effectively what you've done, and I want to make sure that people understand this. This is not, to me, this is not making a certificate a 47-day age window. This is the same as me changing the setting on my iPhone that says lock if unattended for 30 seconds or 2 minutes. We're just shrinking the time that the website is caching the values in the certificate. Because if you're forcing me to upgrade my certificate effectively once every 35 days, because what they're going to do is they're going to say, we will offer you a service so that after 32 days, we will automatically recertify the certificate and reissue it. So you're effectively saying you're doing continuous reauthentication on a monthly basis. Does that sound like a subscription service to you guys? Because it sounds awful like a subscription service to me. And if the subscription service falls off or you're mad at the provider because they didn't do the thing you wanted, I have a feeling it's going to take you a little bit more than a week to switch to a new provider. And then there's a lot of chaos to be found in those gaps.
Yeah, it certainly is a business model change, to put it another way, Tom. I think what it also does is it changes certificate from a setup task to a software system maintenance process. We're not in the business anymore of set it and forget it. If we ever were, well, I guess we were for a long period of time, but we certainly have been moving away from that. Now I think I have to let go of that paradigm and just say, I don't care how often it changes. It could change every hour. I've got an automated process to do it. I could change it every day. To your point, the technology to do that ain't hard. We've had the ability to do it. We just have to implement it or move ourselves off of manual process into systems that will do it for us.
And I think when you get to a point where you're re-authenticating those certificates every time you check them, then why have them expire at all? Why not just revalidate them every time you recheck them? Because that will get rid of the rogue CAs. Like,
right? Same thing. Yeah. How long does the cache live?
Let's just beware unintended consequences, right? and the unintended, the economics thing is the Cobra effect that people may have heard. We try to incentivize catching cobras, so people were breeding cobras to catch cobras. Anyway, never mind. But the unintended consequence here is that how is this going to change? How is this going to change application architecture, right? Remember, public certificates. So does that mean that if I just upgrade the public certificate in front of my load balancer or WAF or application delivery controller, whatever you want to call them, and then use private certificates internally, that's okay? By the letter of the law, yeah, right? And I know Tom and I were chatting last week about the how we've solved in air quotes, right, IPv6 by leveraging NAT and the consequences that it had on network architecture, right? This is something similar. So are we going to be seeing a resurgence of presenting this to putting this behind a load balancer or capability of some sort and call it a day? How much complexity does that add to application troubleshooting later on? Right, that's just something on my mind.
Fernando, it brings up the question of, so what is the purpose of a certificate anymore? It certainly is for security and encryption and things like that. Fundamentally, we have to have it for that. Is it still useful to have it as a authentication, identity of the organization that this purports to be, which is what your public CAs do, right? That's back to, sending them the documentation.
It is, Mitch, but not for the reason you're thinking. Like, as security professionals, we would say, yes, attestation that this is a valid website is super important. But I think that the reason why we need to have publicly verifiable certificates now has everything to do with the fact that we have spent over a decade teaching users that if you don't see the green in the bar, you don't see the lock icon, don't go there.